Okay, listen. I have had a day so far, and you need to listen to this because, oh my goodness, it's been a day. Things have happened, and I've been, oh wow, goodness me. I've seen things today. Things you wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the coast of Orion. Honestly, I'm not even joking, it's been a day. It's been a fascinating day, but I know that the timers are starting. Don't worry about start. Did you see Dave? I didn't. Right, listen. Tears in the rain. Here we go, guys. You guys ready? You guys ready? Let me tell you about my day. We're going to get to the game in a minute. Don't worry. We're going to break into this tower, free the assassin. Stuff's going to happen, but I need to talk to you about the day that we've just had, because my God. So, for those of you who might not know, this is a true story. This happened today. Now, I want you to understand that I've got to preface this with nobody in this story is a bad guy. What happened today was a complete mismatch of audience expectation, and performer. Like, you could not have put any of these three further apart. It was amazing. It was brilliant. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion for the whole time, but I need everyone to understand that everyone involved in this story was doing their absolute goddamn best. They really were. I didn't bomb. No one actually bombed. Okay, that's a phrase in performing when you don't do well on stage. Oh no, the performers involved in this performed their goddamn hearts out. Oh my, that's some of the genuine, most energetic performances I'd seen. They really tried. So, I live in the middle of the English countryside. It's very quaint, it's very picturesque, and occasionally there will be events in local villages, and there'll be, village fete style events. It's sunny, you're going to go to the English village fete. If you've seen the film Hot Fuzz, you know when they go to the village kind of fete thing, and there's little tents set up, and there's stalls, and there's Splat the Rat games. That's actually legit real. Yeah, that actually happens in English villages. So sometimes you'll go to these events and there'll be a couple of tents set up, and there'll be people selling homemade jams, and there'll be Morris dancers, and there'll be a shooting range with an air rifle, that kind of thing. It's very, very quaint and British. The thing is, it's not quite as quaint when the audience down there is Bazza from the pub and his mate Steve, who's a builder, and they're wearing, tank tops, and they've got really sunburnt arms, and they're big lads, and they're just walking around, and they're not the kind of guys buying homemade jams. They're not the kind of guys that are going to go and play a bit of Splat the Rat. They want some cheap beer because that's there as well. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. If those guys need an event for them, that's absolutely fine, but there's a very kind of middle-class aura to it. So, a friend of mine who lives in a village not near me, but within travelling distance, said, hey, there's a festival on today. Why don't we go? And I thought, you know what? I can go. That's absolutely fine. So I turn up. And it turns out this specific village, for some reason, is hosting a Japanese leisure cultural festival as part of the English Heritage Festival. So, half of the event was almost like being at a convention, but it was outside, and there were rows of stalls. Not many, but there was some selling anime figures, and there were some selling Japanese culture stuff, and there were some selling, Japanese versions of PlayStation games, that kind of stuff. The kind of, you go to a convention, and there's always like that artist's alley kind of thing. That was there, outside. The problem was, the people that were sat there, I bought a piece of artwork, really cool looking, kind of Legend of Zelda, hand-drawn A3 poster. I was looking through this guy's art, I'm like, that's badass, I want that, so I bought that straight away. But then I looked around and I realised that I wasn't at an anime convention. I was in the middle of the English countryside, surrounded by parents who had brought their children to a quaint English village event, wondering what the hell was going on. There were a lot of parents awkwardly looking around, not quite understand, because occasionally we forget we are terminally online. But then I was informed there was going to be a 1 hour long Hatsune Miku tribute where a live DJ was going to play music while a very talented actress, it has to be said, dressed up as Hatsune Miku, danced along and mouthed the lyrics to all of the songs. So I thought, I've got to stay around for this. This is going to be great. So I did. Picture the scene. Outside, in the middle of a big English field. It is incredibly warm. There is a rather old, tatty-looking white tent standing up with the sides open, so it's just the kind of top covering. There are hay bales sat in front of us for people to sit on with a couple of parasols providing shade. And sat on them are the most British people you can possibly imagine. And I don't mean kind of landed gentry, upper-class British. I mean Barry from the pub. I mean the lads from the warehouse night shift. I mean, not the kind of British people that you see in anime, the kind of British people that you would see in films like Trainspotting or Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. That kind of stuff. The lads were down there. The boys. And they're all sat there and they've all got their England t-shirts on because they support the local football club, and they've all got shorts on and they're all drinking pints. And then out comes a young lady dressed as Hatsune Miku, and they're all kind of looking around at each other awkwardly. And there's a couple of kids on the front row who are like well into this. There's a couple of young girls who are just going to scream all the lyrics at the same time. And the DJ comes out in a fox mask as well and starts properly... The DJ's really going for it, giving it some tunes. And the young lady turns around and starts singing the Hatsune Miku stuff. And I'm just stood there and I'm looking around and I'm thinking absolutely nobody in the audience expects this. Nobody knows what's going on. There's like 2 kids in the front sat on some hay bales who are just loving life right now, and all the other parents are just staring dead ahead. Now, I'm not saying that she wasn't a very good performer. She was. The DJ behind was properly getting into it. But it's that moment when you walk forward and they kind of go, "Konnichiwa, England!" I'm thinking, don't get audience involved in this. That they said that, and I'm like, oh no. I've done shows like this before, but I need you to understand, audience participation and audience energy generation only works when you know the audience is there for you. I have never heard an audience make less noise than when the young lady shouted "Konnichiwa, England." It's almost as if everyone tried to make even less noise than they were, and they were already silent. Even the crickets stopped. And she went, I said, and tried it again. She went for it again. She said, I said, "Konnichiwa, England." And bear in mind, there were like a couple of murmurs. As soon as that was happened, everyone kind of went, in a very English way. Now, you have to understand, the English will cheer for anything. There's a cultural thing where we cheer if someone drops a glass in a pub. Side note, you can always tell where the English people are if you're abroad on holiday, if you're in a pub or a restaurant and someone drops a glass, because every other nationality is kind of respectful and understands that, you know, accidents happen in the service industry. That's going to happen. We don't need to be involved. No, English people are involved. As soon as someone drops a glass, there's a cry around the entire thing of "Way!" And one person in the back will always shout, "Sack the juggler!" Because that's just what you have to shout. So when I say that there was absolutely nothing from the audience from this person trying, there was nothing apart from the DJ behind her. The DJ was properly going for it. I'm not even sure if he was doing anything, but oh my god, I was just standing there watching the DJ. I'm like, you are owning this. You know that this show is not working, but my god, you are going for it still. And to be fair, the young lady that was dancing, she was dressed up as Hatsune Miku, dancing outside in the beating sun for an hour. Like, the endurance on her, holy crap. That was incredibly impressive. I tried to search them up on social media afterwards, like Twitter or Instagram, just to send a message being like, just want you to know, that was extremely impressive. Couldn't find any of them. Now, I used to do shows like that when I was younger, back in my acting days, and it is terrible. It is absolutely terrible, because that's not the audience. Like, had it been Morris dancing, the audience would have loved it. Had it have been anything the kind of, British, they would have been like, yes! But as soon as you get the Japanese involved, everyone's a bit awkward and doesn't know what to do. But that wasn't the best thing of the day. Oh my god, the best thing came a few minutes later. Allow me, and this is it. There's more. There is so much more. Now, allow me to explain that setting audience expectation for a show is vital. Like, if you're going to do a comedy show and it's going to have a lot of toilet humor in it, you maybe don't advertise it as epic Shakespeare. That's not what happened here, but that's like, you see the divide there. You don't advertise one thing and then turn up and perform another, because the audience that you get is going to expect the first thing. So there was a sign. This field was quite big. There was lots of stuff going on. And there was like a main arena, if you will. Big fenced-off area, seating around the outside of it. It was hay bales still. But there was a sign saying there was a dog show on around kind of 1 o'clock-ish. And I thought, could be interesting. I don't mind a dog show. If you're going to have a dog trainer, watch some dogs, jump over some hoops, jump, over a little fence thing, sit on command, run forward, run back. Okay. It's not the most exciting use of a day, but okay, if you want to have a dog show, we can have a dog show. We'll go down, we'll sit round, we'll watch some well-behaved good boys. It sounds great. So I turned up and I sat down, and you have to understand that all of the signs just said dog show. Okay? It said humorous dog show, but I thought, they're going to do some tricks. They're going to have like a silly little costume on them or something. Maybe they're going to pick up a toy that looks like a stick of dynamite and run it back, and the trainer's going to run around. Something like that. Humorous dog show. Okay. A guy walks out. Show starts. And he says, let's welcome our first dog to the stage. And when I say stage, I mean kind of open air in the center. It was a poodle. It was a human dressed as a poodle. And you could feel the entire audience suddenly look around at each other and go, I'm sorry, what? And then he said, let's invite our second dog to the stage. And it was another human dressed up as a Great Dane. Now, I need you to understand, these were not high-quality fur costumes. These were not furries. This was not high-quality fursuits, because had they have been high-quality fursuits, I would have been able to at least appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into a high-quality fursuit. Those things are expensive. These were just actors in leotards with a couple of fur patches on them, masks, and gloves. This was not good. Now, had it have said, dog show, in brackets, featuring human performers dressing up as dogs. Okay. I may not have enjoyed it, but I would have had the expectation. I would have known what to expect. The fact that, imagine the crowd. You've got old Bertha. You've got old Brenda from the Women's Institute down the road, sitting there in her lovely sunflower dress. She's 70 years old. She only gets out the house once in a blue moon. She's had a bit of a sherry. She's ready for it. She loves a dog show. That'd be great. And she's sat there, the Mams in the corner, the knitting club, ready for their dog show that's been advertised to them. And then actual humans dressed as dogs come onto the stage. And this show is an hour long. And nobody wants to be the first person to leave the audience. So everyone just watches it. I was stood in the distance. I'd bought a slice of pizza. I was loving life. I thought, this is brilliant. I was just sat there thinking, this is such a train wreck. This is not a house burning down. This is not a train derailing. This is not a toxic waste spill. This is a train carrying toxic waste derailing into a house, and then everything burst into flames. This was uniquely bad. It was the kind of show that I would have expected to be on a parody TV show. Like, it's something I'd expect the IT crowd to have satirized in a show. It's the kind of thing I would have expected that Del Boy would have come up with in Only Fools and Horses to make a quick buck when he realizes he can't actually afford a real dog. I would have expected it in a TV show. When it happened in front of me in real life, it was amazing. It was the best part of this entire show, and the worst experience to stand in. Now, I have to be fair. the actual performers, dressed as the dogs, and the guy running the show, they were really trying. Bless them, they were trying. They were energetic, they were bringing the energy, they were trying to get the audience involved. It was, you could tell they felt let down by the advertising for their show. Now, the jokes were quite funny. It was like, the poodle's going to jump over this little beam now, but the actor playing the poodle just runs up and then fails and knocks the beam off and then jumps at the person who's meant to be, the ringmaster of it, and then the bloodhound is running around the side, and the Great Dane is then trying to pick up some of the props and run off with them. Chaos is happening. It was very silly, but the expectation had been set completely wrong. It was not furries, it was performers attempting to act as animals, and I had the best time watching it because I cringed so much I imploded. The crowd were not whelmed. The crowd were angry. They were angry in that very British way of, we wanted a dog show and you have given us 4 humans in dog costumes pretending to do this. There was even a bit where one of the actors pretended to do a poo in the middle of the arena, and they had one of those little fake plastic dog poos that fell out of the costume. That's the level that we're talking. Now imagine, that's part of the comedy. Now imagine an audience of 50 to 70-year-old, extremely white, extremely British people who wanted a dog show. This is almost like going to the cinema and expecting Titanic and you end up with Saw, but you don't leave, you just sit and watch it. So yeah, I've been at a show where I got to watch a Hatsune Miku tribute for an hour perform to an audience of middle-class, middle-aged British guys who didn't understand anything that was going on, and then a dog show which was humans acting as dogs to an audience that were expecting a dog show. Am I okay? No. It's been a day. It's been a day. I'm so glad I turned into the stream. Don't worry, this is all going to be on YouTube, I'm sure. It was a day out. It really was a day out. Now, would I do it again? Absolutely. Immediately. As soon as I hear that show is on anywhere else, I would go just to see the audience reaction to what's happening. Now, the problem with this is, afterwards, after the Hatsune Miku tribute kind of finished, there were some people playing this traditional Japanese drums. I'm not sure what the title of it is. Taiko? Taiko drums, I think it is. It's really cool. So, you've got... There were 2 people playing Taiko drums, and they were very good at what they were doing. And you've got a central drum, and then you've got 1 drum each, so 3 in total. And what they were doing was, they were keeping rhythm on the central drum, while they were playing some really cool rhythms on their own drums. And what would then happen is one person would finish a rhythm on their own drum, the second person would go to their drum, but they would then switch and take over the control of the central drum at the same... It was immediate. It was really cool. So this central rhythm was kept throughout the whole thing, and they were almost battling with each other. So one person would do something really impressive on their drum and then take over the middle, and that person would then leave the middle, do that. It was very, very good. The problem was, after about 5 minutes of performance, they stopped, they stepped forward to the audience and said, right, who would like to have a go? And a load of kids just rushed at them, okay, because it is an English fair in the middle of the countryside. That's going to happen. And then I realized that this was not going to be half an hour of taiko drumming, which I would have quite liked. It's going to be 5 minutes of taiko drumming and then 25 minutes of the 2 very skilled performers teaching local children how to drum. And at that point I just thought, you know what? This wasn't really what I was expecting. I was expecting to watch you perform, because you're very good at this. But what you're going to do is now teach kids how to do it. Now, it was nice of them, don't get me wrong. The problem was, the poster for this event said, dog show, taiko drumming. Neither of those things happened. It was a human show and a taiko training session for kids. It's back to expectations. The problem was that you couldn't participate. I could have fought through that, crowd of children had I have wanted to. You know, I think people often say, you know, how many children could you fight? If there's a Taiko drumming session, a lot. But it was next level bad marketing. The actual performances, all very skillful. The marketing, oh my god, no. The artist alley of people that were there selling stuff, all very talented, but it was not really what you expected from a quaint middle-class English countryside. Like Steve from the Builders Union, who's just necked back his third pint of Stella while his little Princess Tiffany asks him to sit and watch Hatsune Miku for the next hour. I don't think it was what he was ready for, but it was great. I had a lovely time. I had a fantastic time watching other people have a terrible time. There was a uniquely enjoyable aspect of how bad the atmosphere was. The show was great. Imagine the Willy Wonka experience, but distilled down into a dog show. That's what it was. There's a uniquely enjoyable kind of schadenfreude to be found in just watching shows go wrong. Now, I feel very bad for the performers who were trying their best to make these shows go right, but yeah, that's a perfect way. No one left this festival unchanged. There was a moment, actually, there was a real moment. I was turning around looking at the crowd, and there was a woman standing there, a woman and a man, obviously, with their children. There was like a young girl and a young boy, and the young girl was just running around, screaming, wanting for an ice cream. The woman was on her phone, the man was trying to get control, and the young kid, this kid must have been like 8 or 9 years old. He was just staring at the Hatsune Miku dancer. You know, she was really giving it her all dancing on stage, and this young kid was just standing there staring at her. He wasn't into Japanese culture at all. You know, the guy looked properly English football shirt, football shorts, you know, standing there, and he was just staring, and I thought, this is a formative moment for that child. He has changed. This is a core memory. Many years from now, when he is a weeb, this is the moment that he will look back on and realise, I was changed in that field, in Middle England, in the sun, with that Hatsune Miku dancer doing her absolute goddamn best. That was a formative moment. A weeb was born today. That's all that happened. All that happened is I saw one of the most unexpected dog shows, and a weeb was born. It was a beautiful moment to be there for. Right. Shall we get back to actually playing Mass Effect 2? Shall we go through this? We need to rescue the assassin, or at least check that the assassin is all there. What a day. What an absolute day. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Hi, Josh. First stream I'm watching. Been watching for over a year. I love you. You can't say that legally without also then marrying me, which means I now own half your stuff. I'm sorry. That's the law. That's the rules. You can't come into this stream and say stuff like that if you don't mean it. So, look forward to the ceremony. Okay, let's go and check the assassin's okay. Now, what was I doing again? Journal. We're not doing the system hacking. We're doing the assassin. That's the one. So, dossier, the assassin. Thane Croyce is a Drell trained from childhood and is an elite assassin proficient in both long-range sniping skills and close infiltration. He has slowed his activities in recent years but is rumoured to be on Ilium, and we must now climb the tower to reach Nasana, who knows where this person is. Yeah, what a day. A weeb was born and I got engaged. Oh, fantastic. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, that didn't actually happen. One of those things was a lie. Let's have a look. Dantius, the name rings a bell. No, can't remember. Cannot remember at all. Ah, you got my 9 inches the other day, did you? And the plushie of me arrived. It's remarkably well made, isn't it? Like, I'm not even kidding. When I got the prototype for the plushies of me from U2's, I'm like, this is actually all right. This is actually decent. That's why I agreed to go with them. The best made 9 inches. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. That's what we made it for.